All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And I'm sure by now many of you guys have heard the very sad news that Andrew Yang did indeed suspend his campaign. Can't say drop out of the race. Technically, he suspended his campaign, which in the common tongue is dropping out of the 2020 electoral race. And by now, many of you have had your chance to grieve overnight. And now we're going to talk about what this means moving forward for everybody, for the Yang Gang, for Andrew Yang, for the campaign, for this channel, so on and so forth. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, I have on the screen right now is the CNN Politics article saying Andrew Yang ends his 2020 presidential campaign. I wanted to just really briefly go through a couple things here, kind of, because there was a lot of, we were literally live when the news broke that it happened, so our reactions are right there, and it was shocking when it was announced he had dropped out. I'm going to show you guys some data to point to maybe why I can see behind the scenes with everything they probably have on top of what we could see publicly. They might have been like, look, it's time it is. And I also just think a big part of it is a little bit of, and we'll get into a second, it seems like Andrew Yang over the last few weeks really had tightened up, and it really didn't seem like he was that same individual anymore. At a certain point,
he wasn't the guy we saw in Nevada.
Yeah, like he kind of knew at a certain point things were getting late. So I want to go through a couple things here, obviously. First of all, CNN Politics article, some quotes from Andrew I want to get through. So it says, Andrew Yang has suspended his political campaign on Tuesday in New Hampshire, ending the upstart run that vaulted the businessman from corporate obscurity to a Democratic contender backed by a devoted following known as the Yang Gang. By the way, also, just pay attention to the way people in the media that were belittling and making fun of Andrew Yang for months will be singing his praises. Anyway,
I haven't heard them called a devoted following known as the Yang Gang in a while.
Yeah, normally they were like an online group, like an online group of right-wing trolls.
Online hackers bent on his, success.
It's like, after people pass, they were everyone gets deified, right? But anyway, so quote from Andrew Yang, while there is great work left to be done, I am the math guy, and it is clear tonight from the numbers that we are not going to win this race. I am not someone who wants to accept donations and support in a race that we will not win, and so tonight I am announcing I am suspending my campaign for president. And I think the biggest thing right here that I've gotten, I believe Zach Grumman, I'll see if I can pull the quote, said something very similar when they initially made the announcement, that basically that the idea that they didn't want to take money from anyone, support from anyone anymore, because it sounds like, which is the honest thing to do, if you're running for president, once you get to that point as the candidate where you no longer believe that there's a real path to victory, the honest thing to do is drop out for this reason. People will still keep donating money, showing up to volunteer, and I think he was like, look, if I don't believe in myself more than all of you guys do, and at this point, it's time to end it. That's kind of what I'm reading into this. They go on to mention that Andrew Yang, of course, also says the Yang Gang has fundamentally shifted the direction of this country and transformed our politics. We are only continuing to grow. It is pretty true that Andrew Yang has got UBI. UBI wasn't a thought 2 years ago, and now it has been debated on debate stages for president in America.
At least he's pushing the Overton window onto good ideas. Bernie Sanders, within 2 years, pushed the Overton window onto a very bad idea, Medicare for all. Now, at least Andrew Yang has pushed the Overton window in the Democrat Party towards a much better idea of UBI, a much more capitalist idea, a far less nationalized idea. And what's kind of interesting is apparently to the Washington Examiner, a Bloomberg advisor, longtime Bloomberg advisor, said that he would make a very interesting candidate for the mayor of New York. And I'm thinking, see, the city of New York has its own wealth tax that it imposes upon millionaires.
City of New York. City,
yeah, the city of New York does. And the city of New York has its own welfare program because it's just so big. There's 14 million people on the island. So I was actually thinking if he ran for just a citywide UBI, if his platform were UBI in New York City as a test platform for a national platform, I think he could easily come back as a candidate for president because let's face it, Obamacare was based off Romneycare. And if in the largest metropolis in North America, he pulled off any remotely close version to universal basic income, he would have an army of support. You think the Yang Gang's big now? Imagine if the island of Manhattan had a mayor that they loved.
How about this? We've had two former mayors of New York City running for president in this cycle as Democrats, I believe, right? Because we had de Blasio, who was already out, and we have Mayor Bloomberg.
But nobody liked him.
And Mayor Bloomberg is about to start running, right? He hasn't started running yet.
Yeah.
Either way.
Oh, he's running. He declared. He's official.
No, he hasn't appeared in a ballot yet. He'll appear in a ballot, I think, coming up Super Tuesday. My larger point being, imagine if there was a popular mayor from New York City that ran.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, moving beyond that, because we'll do another video where we'll talk all about some more stuff like that, because I don't want to get too lost in where he's going from here. The only thing I will mention is that he did mention in an interview Wednesday, so today, that he is on the record I am already on record saying too, if I could solve these problems as someone's vice president or a member of an administration, we just need to start solving these problems for the next generation, and I'm happy to do my part. Well, again, that's a topic for another day, but rumors, I think, will start to swirl around possible VP noms for Yang. Who knows? The only person I actually thought would have maybe made Yang their VP was Joe Biden, and now it looks like Joe Biden is indeed definitely not even going to make it to Super Tuesday. So there goes that. But
you think so?
Oh yeah, he's done. He's not going anywhere. He was only there to tread water for whoever their ringer was on Super Tuesday, and it appears the Super Tuesday ringer is Michael Bloomberg. But anyway, we'll get to this in a second. I wanted to show you guys a couple, again, getting to why he might have already suspended this race. So this is showing the state delegate equivalent, not the actual popular vote counts, but this is what I want to show you guys for Iowa, right? Andrew Yang invested a ton into Iowa. We'll show you in a minute a snapshot of how much, but he invested a ton into Iowa. Biggest thing he invested in Iowa was his own time. I believe he had a 5-day bus tour and a 17-day bus tour over the course of a month in Iowa. That's campaigning time you don't get back in the cycle. He put it all in the state, and I'm sure there will be a book written on what happened in Iowa with Andrew Yang. But
yeah,
one thing I do think is true is the idea that it did seem their ground game perhaps should have been focused around individual delegates, so you could have seen, because the popular vote for the state was 5%, his state delegate equivalent was 1%, and I think that shows like there was a little bit of political inexperience there, not recognizing, hey, just focus on these areas and trying to spread too thin. And then I think they knew this finish was coming in New Hampshire before it actually did come. And let's see if I can get this on screen for you guys, where we see Andrew Yang in New Hampshire with 98% reporting. Where is he at 2.8% behind Tulsi Gabbard and Tom Steyer. So he did announce he was suspending his campaign before these became a final, but this was basically where he was pulling at then. So, I mean, admittedly, with all your campaigning effort and energy being expended already, I can kind of see why. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is this is 538's been putting this on all year. We've been showing you guys it during the whole campaign trail, and this is tracking the ads spent. Now, I wish I could remove Bloomberg because it just skews the numbers so much. It makes it really hard to see what's going on. But if you can see that small gray line right there at the bottom, I know it's crazy because it's just Bloomberg has spent so much. This was Andrew Yang. Now you'll notice Andrew Yang.
He's a formidable purchase of ad prices. Like if you didn't have Steyer on that map, the first billionaire. Can you believe we're calling him like the mini loser billionaire? Like, you only have 7 billion. Like, can you believe that? You know what I'm saying? So if it weren't for the mini billionaire,
afford to waste his net worth on this. Michael Bloomberg can waste Tom Steyer's net worth on this election and still be a multi-tens of billionaire. But to your point, remove the billionaires from this, and you'll see that Andrew Yang was a big player in TV ads. Now that might have actually been a blunder. We'll get into that. Not a blunder, but it might have just been. He might have not got the results from that he was hoping for. But what I want to show you guys is the numbers.
That would have happened in any other cycle. Yeah.
They're showing that so according to 538, he ran 16 different ads in the state of Iowa, an estimated cost of about $5 million. This isn't counting the money that he paid to make the ads. It's not counting the money he pays to the firm that makes the ads. It's not counting any of that. It's not counting the time he spent. But just on ads that ran on TV, $5 million in Iowa, and I believe when we go to New Hampshire, we will see it's about another $2 million in 1.3 in New Hampshire. And it's just like, if you spend $7 million on TV ads in 2 states and walk away with nothing from it, and not even that, you've been campaigning in these states day and night for weeks, I really do see it. It's sad, but I do see why, looking at these numbers, he had to say, look, man, like, what, are we going to get $50 million this quarter to spend? Fundraising has been trailing down as well. It's a little bit harder for me to show you guys. I'd have to kind of grab, like, I think some screenshots of his archive website. But, I mean, we've been just charting on videos for a while now. The fact that there's been 3 of 4 fundraising goals on the website that he had were missed. And missed by, 35, 40%. I think one was like got like 89% funded. But still, I mean, like, that wasn't a problem he had up until January, realistically.
Yeah.
And you factor in they already spent a bunch of money. More money isn't coming in. and then the polls didn't show. I mean, I really don't see a reason why he would have stayed in. With all that being said,
it was a financial
still was
decision.
shocking. It still was shocking, and then if you want to talk about, you were saying last night a good point. Looking forward, right? As much as we wanted to see him go to Super Tuesday, the amount of money you need to run in Super Tuesday compared to running in Iowa, right, is just too much.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you have to be popular enough that you can fund, because Iowa's a small state. It's not hard to conquer. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I shouldn't say it's not hard to conquer, but I'm just saying, you're dealing with what, less than 2 million in population or something like that.
Even then, it's just one, right? I mean, Super Tuesday, you might want to campaign in at least half of the 13 states.
Yeah,
right?
it's like you're all of a sudden, you can only spread yourself so thin, okay? Which means you're all of a sudden relying upon surrogates. Well, a lot of those surrogates are paid. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these spokesmen are paid. A lot of these canvassers are paid. And there's just so much expense associated with a national campaign that I really don't see how you do it without being a billionaire anymore. How about
the fact that Yang also
you either have to be able to grift a billion, or else you already have a billion.
Well, to the point, Yang was one of the only candidates who did not spend a dime on private planes. I mean, he was even saving the $1 million a quarter on flying private, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah. So anyway, basically, we're going to keep on going. We are chasing down the candidacy of Michael Bloomberg, seeing what's all going on there.
I mean, that's the worrying thing. It's one of the reasons why I do wish Andrew Yang could have been able to hang in the race a little bit longer. I think when Bloomberg enters the race, a person like Andrew Yang would have become much more popular when people actually see what's being.
Yeah.
Because trust me, guys, for those of you out there, there's a lot of Bernie supporters out there.
People don't realize what Bloomberg's pulling off. They don't realize he's buying this thing.
But not even that. It will be a shock to Americans if they see Michael Bloomberg debate Bernie Sanders on a debate stage, because it's going to be some very radical ideas thrown around to people that are not politically engaged. I mean, seriously, like Michael Bloomberg's basically platform is the more money he takes from other people, the better, because he's smarter and can spend it better.
Yeah.
And when it's not going to be good. So I think when that happens, people will be dying for a candidate like Andrew Yang. So it's unfortunate, but like you said, economically and mathematically, they needed big performances in Iowa and New Hampshire, basically for fundraising to keep the thing going. Fundraising slowed down before poor performances, so we will do some more digging into some other stuff. The Yang Media blackout, we're going to do a whole video probably talking about what that played into it. But just today, just want to talk about, that's the morning after. Why did he announce so? I saw a lot of people when we were on our stream that were kind of like, why would he do it now? It's too early. I was thinking the same thing, but when you dive into the numbers, you see like financially, I don't see where the money was coming from.
Andrew Yang is one of the most doom and gloom people. You know what I'm saying?
But even then, he was going on pretty much, it's not like the polls were going from like 1 to 2 to 5 to 9 to 12 to 15. I mean,
no, I'm not saying it was unjustified.
But he was maintaining for a while that energy, and I think it was when the money started to slow down, and then he missed the debate. Missing that debate was killer. I mean, I think when you look back and do the postmortem on this campaign, I think the Iowa ground game strategy from the campaign, which by the way, a lot of Iowa people like volunteers and campaigners said there seemed to be a lack of direction from the top, and that was. Yes, that apparently it came out in the votes. The fact that they had 5% in the popular and 1% in the delegate count tells me there was just miscommunication from the top. They weren't directing. I mean, we can talk about the fact that there was some miscommunication that led them off the Iowa ballot due to just a mix-up of stuff. Like, there were things that happened that set him back that he pushed
But also,
through. I think it was the money ultimately. And it's sad, but that's everything in life, right? Once it gets to the point where I literally can't pay my employees in these states to campaign for me anymore.
The decision's made for me.
And then how about this? And then also, as he brought up, the idea of taking money in and having people go out to volunteer for him. If you in your mind know, look, it's like over, it's like a 1 in a million Hail Mary, it is kind of just wrong.
No, it's an ethical decision. I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get. I think he made the correct ethical decision, and I do think you're right that missing that debate stage. If there were, I'm not interested in making an autopsy episode. It would take forever, and we could probably end up writing the book. But I do think when we look back at this, missing that debate stage was a big blow to the morale. I think the Ohio debacle of not getting on the ballot was a blow to the morale. And I feel sorry for Yang, though, because I really think he could have weathered these storms in any other cycle where we didn't have that lack of polls. The only reason he didn't make the debate stage was because, remember, we had like the 14-day drought of polls.
Yeah,
it was nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was DNC gamesmanship. I mean,
there were 0 polls.
Andrew Yang literally petitioned the DNC to run more polls. They didn't, so he commissioned internal polls. Like, it was a big deal.
Yeah. So I mean, I look at this and I am overwhelmingly impressed with Andrew Yang because he fought an upward battle the whole time for acceptance from a party that ignored him, okay? For screen time from a media that wouldn't even let surrogates for him come on the show. It had to be him and that mischaracterized him and gotcha journalist him for the first year of his existence, of his campaign's existence, until he basically got onto Joe Rogan, right? And then he ends up kind of breaking through those proverbial glass ceilings, shall we call them, okay, to become a legit contender that outlasts, like legitimately outlasts seasoned veterans of the Senate. You know what I'm saying? Outlasting governors, outlasting like people who've been fighting and wanting this forever. Whereas like 2 years ago, you realize I have to do this or else we're going to go down in flames. I mean, that this man hath blown my mind. Okay. Hath blown my mind. So we're going to keep on making videos. We're going to keep following the election 2020. We're going to keep talking problem solver politics. Stay here with us. Make sure if you're subscribed and you want to keep getting the best in news, that you guys make sure that you literally, actually not news, best in opinion and analysis, that you guys join our channel. It's an inexpensive way to help support the channel. Make sure you also follow us on PSP Radio 1 on Twitter. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you in the next video.